1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 4.
Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer and welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling, the channel dedicated to wrestling video games, fueled by my love, passion, and obsession for them. Thank you for clicking on this video. I am playing WWF WrestleMania 2000, bringing you another one of my personal calls, and it is none other than the man they call Gillberg. That's right, the man who's afraid of his own pyro, also known as Dwayne Gill, perennial jobber in the WWF early 90s and late 90s, depending on how you look at it. But I got 4 costumes here for you for Dwayne Gill Gillberg. This is entirely a kind of like comedic call. I made it from scratch, modeled it a little bit after the Goldberg character from WCW NW Revenge, like moveset I mean, but not really. If you look at the parameters, the offense, defense, strength, they're all really low. He's essentially my stab at making the worst character in the game. Take that, Sean Stasiak. But you can find the full call typed out in the description below, so make sure you click the link for the full call down there. But let's get started for the appearance. So we start with body size 1, skin tone 0. We make him really skinny here, as skinny as you can. Ring attire 0. Obviously Gillberg was a spoof on Goldberg, but there were a few slight differences. He had a tattoo where Goldberg had the barbed wire and we used tattoo 10, but it was a drawn on tattoo, it wasn't a real tattoo. Later on he would get real tattoos for his Gillberg gimmick. Face 6, head 0, hair 1, 0, there's no hair, he's bald. Hair 2, front hair doesn't matter because he's bald. Facial hair 12, that's what I went with for Dwayne Gill over here. And then equipment, so I went with gloves 1 for, you know, the standard Goldberg type gloves. For the elbow pad, I gave him the really big elbow pads, elbow pad 4. I don't think I've ever used them for any other call ever, but I feel like they work perfectly here because he always had oversized elbow pads. And then for knee pad, I went with knee pad 5, make the color dark black, so 21. Same thing with the boots, 0 and 21. And there you go, it's like a spoof on Goldberg. Like, I wouldn't use those elbow pads and knee pads for my actual Goldberg call if and when I do make it, but for Gillberg, I feel like they work perfectly. For his second outfit, we're going with the Dwayne Gill Job Squad outfit. So we actually have ring attire 41, make that dark black. Upper body, we have the Job Squad shirt, it's in the game, Al Snow wears it. Upper body 13, keep it default colors. And then I realized I left the tattoo on. You go ahead and take the tattoo off for Dwayne Gill because he didn't have real tattoos at this time. Wristband 1, color 2, so white. And then we keep 1 elbow pad on the right, and that's keep it elbow pad 1, default black. Knee pad, we go with that knee pad that had like the sort of the black outline on it. Knee pad 6, make it white. I made it light white, but you can just make it regular white. And then feet 2 and 22 for white boots as well. For the third outfit, it's basically the same attire he would wear under his Job Squad attire, which was like a wrestling singlet. You saw him kind of wear this a couple of times when he was just Dwayne Gill. I mean, and before he even wore the Job Squad shirt, sometimes he would just wear a regular white shirt over it. So I decided to just do the under of the Job Squad outfit with his singlet. And then here, same thing, Job Squad, but we make the Job Squad shirt black because, you know, they had one in black and they had one in white, and he wore both of them at one point. So that's Dwayne Gill. There's more Dwayne Gill calls than Gillberg if you think about it. There's more of his costume focusing on Dwayne Gill, and I figured I'd do that to sort of flesh out the call. I always like to do 4 different outfits, and it actually turned out pretty fun to do, to make the 4 outfits. Going back and rewatching Gillberg and Dwayne Gill, it wasn't all that fun, but had a lot of fun making this call. I hope you have a lot of fun making it as well. Again, the full move sets and parameter, all that is in the description below. We're gonna go over a match right now. I'm facing Christian, whom he defeated for the Intercontinental Championship. I mean, not the Intercontinental Championship, no way, for the Light Heavyweight Championship. And he wasn't Gillberg at the time, he was Dwayne Gill. So a little history if you didn't know the man that would become Gillberg. Dwayne Gill was like a journeyman professional wrestler that started wrestling like in 1999. He very quickly joined WWF in 91, I believe, and he settled into a role what is known as in professional wrestling as a jobber. Some people view the term very negatively. Some people say there's nothing wrong with being a jobber because you can still make a living. Everyone's got to know their role, right? So sometimes some people, hey, that's who they're going to be. They're going to be a solid hand in the ring. Jobbers who get consistent work, like Dwayne Gill, who got consistent work in the WWF, that usually meant they were really good at being a jobber, meaning they were really good at losing, but losing in a way where they made their opponent look really strong or look really impressive, and they made themselves look very easy to beat by those opponents. That could be one of the reasons why Dwayne Gill kept being brought back into the jobber role. Also, maybe he was just, very well liked behind the scenes and was fun to work with a lot of the wrestlers. So, sometimes people use the term jobber negatively, but really it's just sort of like an oversimplification of a certain role that a person falls into in professional wrestling, where they lose all the time because they are trying to shine other wrestlers. Some wrestlers get out of that role. Christian, the Hardys, they came into WWF as jobbers, and they crossed paths with Gillberg at one point, but they eventually were able to get out of that role and become very successful tag team wrestlers and have long storied careers in the history of professional wrestling. Some people can get out of that role, some people can't. Dwayne Gill was with the WWF until about 94, then he left and bounced around a bunch of different independents, and he would make his big return as the mystery opponent for Mankind in the Deadly Games Survivor Series tournament. This was 1998. So I always wondered why Gillberg wasn't in this game, because he fits the timeline and he was with the company. He was with the company all the way in 2000. They could have included him in WWF No Mercy if they wanted to. And I thought he would have been, again, a fun joke wrestler. The Aki Games have a history of wrestlers not being great. See Riggs and Sick Boy in WCW NW Revenge, or Lodi in WCW NW Revenge. Some of the unlockable characters in No Mercy. So Gillberg would have fit right in, but he came back as Dwayne Gill, lost in a few seconds, and at this time though, there was another faction in WWF, the Job Squad, and he quickly joined the ranks of the Job Squad, who were filled by Al Snow, Bob Holly, and Scorpio. And this is where I was always torn with the notion of what a jobber is and the role of a jobber is, because here WWF at the time, they had this faction called the Job Squad of pretty talented wrestlers, with the exception of maybe Dwayne Gill, but like Scorpio should not have been in the Job Squad, right? But it told the audience that these wrestlers are jobbers. That's all they will ever be, is jobbers. And they were a babyface group because you were supposed to cheer for them and root for them, but at the same time they weren't really putting him in a position to get over their jobber role because they kept beating you over the head. They're jobbers, they're jobbers, they're jobbers, right? And I was really disappointed in that, especially with guys like Al Snow and Scorpio in the group, because I felt like they could have done so much more. Shortly after being with the Job Squad, he would win the light heavyweight championship from Christian in like sort of a fluke with the help of the Job Squad. And that was another disappointing thing I remember back in the day, because again, this was at a time where WCW and WWF were going at each other, and on the ratings week after week, WCW had the excellent cruiserweight division, and WWF's response to that was bringing back the light heavyweight championship. Taka was the champion for almost a year before losing it to Christian, but they never did anything with the title. They never did anything with Taka as champion. So to give it to Dwayne Gill as a member of the Job Squad, that pretty much was, a sign that they didn't care about that title. And that hurt me as a fan of someone of the cruiserweight division or the junior heavyweight division in Japan, to see that WWF didn't care about having a light heavyweight division or a junior heavyweight division. And that's when we would get the transformation of Dwayne Gill into Gillberg, which was you had to be blind not to know that it wasn't a spoof for Goldberg. They very clearly made it obvious, from him being escorted by security in the back, and the Job Squad and certain other people would be holding sparklers for his pyro, and he would get choked up. It was funny as a spoof for like a week in my eyes. I know a lot of people love the Gillberg character. I never liked it. And I'm not even a big fan of Goldberg. I don't like Goldberg as a wrestler. But it was like, again, it was because he was the light heavyweight champion and he had the title, and they were just trying so hard to make fun of Goldberg and WCW. It's that very like lowbrow, tasteless humor that I never enjoyed WWF doing, and it was a repeat of them making parodies of other wrestlers. They did parodies of Hogan, Macho Man, Razor Ramon, Diesel. When Bret Hart got screwed, you know, they brought out a midget wrestler for Bret Hart. Like, they just always would do that, and that was like their way to like stick it to the competition. And I just always felt like it was so lowbrow and not really all that funny, kind of sad. What's ironic about the whole thing and the whole legacy of Gillberg, and Gillberg being a stab at WCW's top star at the time, look at where Goldberg is now in relationship with the company in WWF. They spent so much energy making fun of him and trying to diminish how he was presented in WCW by presenting him. And, you know, don't get me wrong, WCW did the same thing. They would take cheap shots at WWF and do parodies of wrestlers from WWF. And I never liked that stuff either. But I think it's ironic that eventually, when all was said and done, when WCW folded, WWF bought them, they made such a play to have Goldberg as part of the company, and they brought him in as a big star. They gave him the championship. I mean, he just recently was Universal Champion again. Another main event match at WrestleMania. You know, and we've seen Gillberg throughout the years, even after losing the light heavyweight title to S.A. Rios. He was the longest reigning light heavyweight championship. He only was involved in 6 championship matches on WWF TV, and he held the title for 448 days. The longest reigning. That's what WWE thought of the light heavyweight division for many, many years. And even to this day, I mean, like, look at 205 Live and the Cruiserweights. They don't do anything still with the division. So I have very critical feelings on Gillberg and the Gillberg persona. I know it's a comedy gimmick. Don't get me wrong, I love comedy wrestling. But I just feel like this was a joke that fell flat and ran its course for a long time. But making him in WrestleMania 2000 was fun. And, you know, you could beat him up and get all your frustrations out that way. So I hope you enjoy the call. Make sure you follow me on social media at BeBetterGamer. Until next time, keep watching all the wrestling. Thank you.